so I'd rather see us get to a deal. We've been allowing ourselves to kick the can down the road. That's not productive. Hopefully we have a deal where we can actually fund this year's appropriations bills, because it's not only the top line amount of money, which is a cut to non-defense, non-veterans discretionary spending. That hasn't been done in about 6 years. But it's also the spending priorities that are in there. We're breaking away from the priorities that were loaded in during Democratic one-party control.
Well, be that as it may, Congressman, there are plenty of your colleagues who are not satisfied with the top line figures. It seems this House Freedom Caucus certainly isn't. How do you expect Mike Johnson, the House Speaker, to navigate this and keep his job while doing so?
Well, a lot of us would like to see the funding continue to go down. Unfortunately, we have a Democrat in the White House and a Democrat-run Senate that is going to continue to push back and push for higher spending levels. This is where the deal that was cut under the FRA is the numbers that are before us, and getting the overall spending package done. And again, it's not just the top line numbers, it's also the broader policies that are included in the spending bill. Those details have yet to come out. But if we take a full step back, we also have to recognize that we're only having this conversation over about 12.5% of the entire federal spending over the course of a given year.
That's right.
If we want to really hammer out the broader challenge that we're facing from a spending perspective, we need to look at the 75% of the spending that's on autopilot right now. And I'd love to see us take this moment and really move forward with the debt commission and really force us to have the adult conversation about where we're at from a fiscal perspective.
You know, it's funny with all the talk in Washington about aging politicians. We're not old enough to have that adult conversation. It feels like, Congressman, your heart would be warmed to know that we actually talked about Social Security and Medicare on this program last hour. And the point of the conversation was that no one will talk about it. It is the third rail. It's in the lockbox. But those are the cards that you're dealt right now. And as you look down the barrel here of a difficult negotiating session, it looks like there's another uprising on the right. The Freedom Caucus does not like it. And now Ron DeSantis, the governor and presidential candidate, is coming out against this agreement between the Speaker and Chuck Schumer, the FRA deal. Will that have an impact on the result in the House?
I don't know that the presidential politics over the course of the next few weeks will have a significant impact on the negotiations that are going to take place on Capitol Hill. I think at the end of the day, a lot of people are frustrated with where we're at from a spending level. They take it out on the 12.5% of the budget that probably gets the most airtime. It's important that we cut that spending, which we're doing in this. We could have the debate about how far we need to cut it. I'd like to see it go further. But again, we're negotiating with Democrats in the White House and Democrats in the Senate, and shutting down the federal government at the end of the day is not a winning policy. At the end of the day, when every time that has been done, the end result is more spending rather than less spending. It's a path that at the end of the day doesn't lead you to the conservative goal that people are setting out to try to achieve.
And yet there are some members of the House who are currently saying shut down the border or shut down the government, no security, no funding, these kind of ideas, Congressman, that would suggest that if the House doesn't get what it wants in terms of border reform, they would like government funding, at least for a time, to cease. And you speak of negotiations that have to happen between the White House and the Senate. The White House and the Senate are already trying to iron out a border security deal as part of this supplemental funding request. Can you commit to voting for whatever agreement they come to in the name of bipartisan cooperation?
Well, I'm hopeful that we see some form of an agreement come out of these negotiations. I want to read it before I commit to it. But there's clearly a need to restructure and reform our border policies. This administration has been very aggressive from day one, where they stopped border wall construction to send a global signal that the U.S.-Mexico border is unsecure and individuals are able to cross it. We got to end the abuse of the parole system. We got to end catch and release, reinstate stay in Mexico, immediately restart border wall construction. And if we do that, we could get a significant handle on the border crisis that's playing out, that's impacting communities all across the United States, not just our nation's largest cities. It's impacting smaller communities like a city called Whitewater in Wisconsin, in my district, that has 14,000 people and now has roughly estimated by the chief of police, 1,000 migrants now living there.